Our gracious Heavenly Father, we just thank you for this day. And Lord, we thank you that there are people who are willing to serve the public and that they are all here today. Lord, I ask that you will provide wisdom, your mind, your will on what is to happen today. Help us to approach each other, both public and our elected officials, with understanding, with patience. Lord, we just thank you, and we just give you this time now. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Weston.
Now being 9, we'll call the meeting to order. Mr. Todd, would you give us the Pledge of Allegiance? Please.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next is additions or changes to the agenda. Need to have some additions. On the consent agenda, on the chairman's signature of resolutions, resolution 23-1, local government art project, ARPA, grant resolution for Weston County Solid Waste Districts. We need to add a certification of statement that just go along with that resolution. Just need the chairman's signature on that. Under new business, after employment council membership, we need to add Steve Price. And then at 11 o'clock, we need to add executive session for litigation.
Sorry, I'm not sure. It's the first time you spoke up.
Yes, what it is, we have a for the solid waste district to go after the ARPA fund grants.
Oh, yeah, when you sent it.
That we did it once before, but that funding didn't happen. So there's another pot of money coming up. We're going to go after that. The solid waste district. The grant has to be ran through the county, so we need a resolution that the county will basically. The county doesn't. All it does is just funnels through here, so it's basically a record impression. There's a certificate of statement that needs to go with that. So the chairman needs to sign that. Go with that at all. That's what that is. Any other additions or changes to the agenda?
Steve Price, who is he with?
He was our former maintenance guy here.
Okay.
Sure.
I'll make a motion to approve the 117-23 agenda as amended.
Second. I have a motion properly seconded to approve the amendment as agenda. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Motion carried. Next is the consent agenda. That's things down.
Why did you second that?
Yes.
We're gonna get a formal complaint. So, sure.
Chance to read those. We'll move on. You guys see the resolution?
I emailed it, and I didn't email it last time.
Certification statement.
This is that $4 million.
More.
Yeah.
Officially have signed in for tomorrow.
I was thinking too, we need to, invite Nick right in, where he is on the, yeah, or has he, you guys talked to him?
I haven't talked to him. Haven't.
So I was looking up this house. Yeah. This is the one that Ogden's working on.
No, that's just a housekeeping bill. Basically, that money was set aside for back in 15 for closures and transfer stations. That's just as they're using it, they're just updating it. No, that the other bill hasn't dropped yet. Okay. Now consent agenda.
Looking old, right? Make a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended with that certificate of statement.
I'll second. We have a motion properly second to approve the consent agenda as amended with the certification statement. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor please say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Motion carried.
She used to work with Alex too.
I still do.
What do you do?
Yes. He's the one when he resigned, he tacked Mike and I hired me to be the circuit court prosecutor.
Oh, okay.
Yes, we still have our bankruptcy practice in July.
Gotcha. How's he doing?
He's doing good.
They're back in Minnesota or something.
The UP,
Wow.
down the peninsula.
Oh,
these taxable collections, you know all about them, don't you?
A little bit.
Do you understand them, Garrett?
I do.
The new commissioners?
Sure that
We still got you from it.
that is all I've been in.
I think that's
So that's basically
I'm sure. I didn't look at anything. No.
No, I guess on another page. Oh, yeah. I'm sure that was yesterday. You know the citation for it?
Because that's how they all go together.
And do you want me to dismiss the citation? Or do you want to-
Okay, we already done it. Little confusion, yeah.
Okay,
That's how we get them to go up to district court.
okay. Yeah, all the other ones are citations. Okay. If I would have agree back. What's up here? We have.
For the future.
Bye.
Right.
It's all down here back to you.
Invitation to the hall now.
That's why you gotta have me.
Well, you know, Brian, he's over here, he's en route from sheriff's office coming over.
Roads might be slow.
Yeah, pretty slick.
He's got jack tracks on his boots.
I get some of those.
Morning. Right up front, Brian, you're on the, you guys are up.
Look at this guy. How you doing?
Pretty good. Yeah, same for you.
Morning. Morning, ladies.
You're up. There you go.
Well, what do you want to know? I could go on for hours. So.
Well, they have the document that I gave you.
Okay.
They do not have the email that I sent you.
I don't even know where to start. So, I guess, let me get my glasses. The first thing I want to discuss is I can't pay that amount out of my budget because I'm not budgeted for it. These letters that she talks about saying we didn't know or we did know about the upcoming or impending rise in costs and so on and so forth. None of that information provided here, none that I'm aware of, was pre budget time. So it's not budgeted for. So I can't pay it. We all know that. I mean, I can't go in the zeros on that. To make things even more interesting, I had the accountants here go through those calls for service. And I'm going to put an average on it of about 27% over 2 months are calls that are bogus. Meaning, they're calls we did for the city because they're shorthanded. They are just literally just information. So if they were billing every agency, one call, they'd be triple billing for one call. So in other words, so-and-so's got a warrant that goes out to every agency. They've billed us for highway patrol calls. And the list goes on. We can get into more specifics or provide you copies of those to break down yourself. And then I'm going to let Dan talk about, he worked with Denise a little bit on the billing when it comes to phone, water, and how that is. That's still, to me, does not look correct. It looks like we're being billed for our utilities, their utilities, and potentially bill those on top of that. So in other words, we pay half, we bill them half, and they're charging us for the whole thing. Yeah, I mean, it looks a little bit iffy. So I'll let Dan kind of explain that part of it, and then we'll.
So, when we're talking to Denise about our billing portion, we've paid on the bill for December. It says water sewer. The bill on there was $312. We already paid half of it, and we forward those on to the city with the voucher, the portion of what we pay half. She gives them a copy of all our bill portion of it, so the bill from Range or the bill from the city. So she gives them half, and then gives them copies of it. We paid half. We paid $506 on that portion of it, and then we were billed on top of that for the $312 was added in their total. So then we took got billed at 35%. So we paid half, then they charge us another 35%. What it looks like, so it's like getting charged 85% of it. These also aren't just strictly dispatch. So the Range phone service on that bill, that's for the emails, accounts that we have. That's the city and the county, and so they're charging us for also all the PD officers' emails, not just dispatch. So they're lumping everything in there for the whole PD portion of it, not just a dispatch that we're looking. So we're not sure what this E911 expense portion is because there's no explanations on some of these or copies of where these bills are. So they're just the numbers. We don't know how they came up with the utility heat and light portion. So we don't know where some of these portions are. The utilities, heat and light to county was 1,053.26, and from we can't figure out how they got that number because that's not half of what the whole bill was. That's not what the whole bill portion is. So we don't know where that number
Is that more than half diameter?
No, no, it's not. It's, I think the whole thing was, well, it might be. I think it was 17. But we don't know where they got it. You can't even take 35% of it. We don't know that. So there's no explanation on any of the bill, so we can't figure out certain portions of that. So
That's the other policy issue Denise ran into because I won't let her voucher with a receipt that's not itemized. So we have to have itemized. We need to know what we're paying for. You know, can't just put a lump thing on there. Have an idea what it is. So as you can see, that's something.
So on a little bit of a rundown, we just don't know the full portions of those expenses, but we do know that some of that is we've already paid half of it, or a good portion of that. So most of it, then we get charged that 35%, so it's almost 85% charge for utility on that upper portion.
How long has this been going on that way?
We've got
Two
bills for that.
Oh, two bills.
We got one for November, December. So
Okay.
so 2 months right now.
So in the past,
There
before,
hasn't been, because it was under the previous contract agreement, so there was no.
we didn't.
So in the past, the way we would do that is the utilities. When I say utilities, I'm talking water, gas, sewer. I'm also talking phone, or the RT or the range bill. Range bills just split down the center. The utilities are split. It's the way it's been done forever. So Denise will voucher that out, our share of it. They send us a voucher for their share of it. We work it that way. So all of that part of it was new to us. And matter of fact, I see no evidence that this was okayed by you guys either to do that. And I'm budgeted a certain amount. That's just the way I go. So I don't know if you guys read it, but I included a letter. I sent a letter to the city, but I included it with that voucher for dispatch and stuff explaining exactly that. I can't, I'm not budgeted for it, so what I'll pay is what I'm budgeted for. And we'll go from there.
Any questions?
Just so I'm clear, I guess. I think you've already stated it. So we got a monthly bill here of what their total cost is to run dispatch. Wages, yada, yada, yada for employees, and that's the 29,000 about. Range phone services, voice products, maintenance, E911, utilities, phones to county, and then water, sewer, gas. And so, did you say, Ryan? I think you did. Utilities, heat and light, was just cut in half, and that's what this voucher. Okay. So they took Weston County Sheriff's Office and the fire department and just said that's because that was our call volume according to them, and so that's our 35%, and that's what we owe.
Yeah, and the issue is the call volume is totally incorrect. Totally incorrect. And even so, like Weston County Fire District, if you're going to go burn a slash pile, you typically call in just to give a heads up. They're billing for that. They're billing us when these guys go out and cover shifts for them. They're billing us when we go do a UA for them. They're billing us when we go do literally anything. It's really not technically a call for service. That's the other issue I have. When you start billing for calls for service, this becomes, in my mind, a significant officer safety issue. I can tell these guys, call in on the radio and I'm going to just use this example. There's a deer carcass laying on the highway. They see it. They will pull over and they will drag it off. They will call that in so they know where, dispatch knows where they're at, just in case something happens. At $56 a call, roughly, these employees that work for the county are not about costing the county money. They work really hard for me and for you guys and for the county to not increase costs. They work every day trying to cut costs. My fear is this. With that mentality, even though I tell them not to, with that mentality, they're going to pull over on the side of the road. I'm not going to call this in. That's $56. We could use $56 for a camera or something like that. They pull that deer off the road and they get smoked by a truck or a car. Nobody will know that they were even out of their vehicle, or for that matter, where they're at. You're getting billed to back up another officer, whether it's a highway patrolman or something like that on their call. I worry that these guys would potentially not make those radio calls because it's going to cost us $56. Beat it into their heads if we're not going to go down that road, but it's not how they are. So there's an officer safety issue in that too.
I get this straight. You guys key the mic just to tell them where your location is. That's all. They're actually doing that as a call.
Yep. If they send out in the CAD system that Ed Wagner has a warrant out of district court, what they will do, that's just an information piece, right? So they get on shift, they read the information stuff, just so we kind of know what's going on. Get billed for that as well. We're not even keying the mic.
Okay.
I mean, by definition, a call for services, you call into dispatch and say, hey, I need a VIN inspection, or I just had a little fender bender or whatever. That's a call for service.
This seems to me has gone into we have the problem.
I guess I still need to give a call back. So
Jim, can you mute yourself?
307-746-5557. Thank you.
Mr. Perino, can you mute yourself, please? On the Zoom call. You can't hear me.
Go ahead, Don.
This is a problem that's been growing, but this is a two-part problem, in my opinion. Okay. We have the problem here is that we had a certain way we were being billed before, and we have a certain way that they're billing now, under the assumption that we agreed to a contract which was created by.
I'm still on. Okay, just a second. Yeah. I can't hear you guys very good. Just for your information, it's real muffled. But anyway. Well, that's not much. Okay, just a second. Is it gone now?
No.
That's gone, right?
No.
Technology is here to help.
You're good now.
No.
We're good now. Thank you. All right. Okay.
Sorry. On a contract that was created by the mayor, and part of that negotiating the billing is negotiated in that contract, which was never agreed to. It was just, here's the contract, like it, and sign it, please, and here we are. But at the same token, there's no figures in here for the inaccuracy in calls. You gave them a letter, if I'm correct, to have them out. Their dates have moved multiple times, and so they're sitting.
And not just them out, a portion, just a small portion,
Right.
Very small portion.
So they're sitting in a building preventing us from setting up our own dispatch, which is costing time and money, on top of the fact that they're not out of the building and refusing, from what you told us, refusing to leave at this point. There's no figures in there for the cost that it takes. We haven't billed them for any of that excess of time because apparently they've decided on their own that it doesn't matter that the contract's been expired for however many years, that today we're going to start it on this date and we're the city and we decided that this is how it's going to go. And my biggest holdup with that is that. So some of those numbers are skewed by that, obviously, but the amount that they're requesting is over 4 times the amount of the original bill. So that's the problem currently. It doesn't resolve any of the back problems that we've been talking about for a long time. You wanted to take the high road on this, which has been a good road, but consistently we've been saying, or we've been talking about, the actions that they're doing do not reflect those of taking the high road. They are aggressive, to say the least, and they're almost demanding. And at this point, I feel like the attorney, our county attorney, I'm sorry, you're kind of probably new to this whole thing, needs to address it in a little bit more aggressive manner. The problem, we don't need 2 dispatches. We've always said that from the get-go. There's certain steps that we've taken that we can't go back on, i.e. buying the Motorola equipment that they don't want to use. So it puts us in a precarious position because we have 2 sets of equipment. We know that those equipment won't interact with each other very well. So to solve the problem, where do we go? So I guess I'm looking at you saying, what is it that you'd like to do? Have you brought any of these concerns to her about the billing now?
No.
Okay. So
Other than the letter I wrote.
right, which is pretty clear.
I mean, anytime we've negotiated costs for dispatch or anything like that, the city has always done that pre-budget for both entities, right?
Right.
And this just comes out of nowhere, in my opinion. I mean, it's been discussed post-budget. So I suppose I was making the assumption that this would be something that needs to be discussed prior to the next budget session so we can set up whatever that is.
You could safely say we were all aware that costs were going to go up with the new system, which is why we had to get the new system, because the costs weren't figured in to the original system, which put us in another dilemma, because then we didn't have the money to replace the system that we had before because they didn't let us know any of the costs, which might sound rehashing, but at this point, where would you like to see it go? I wish Michael was here, because to me,
on this is up to you. I mean, because here's the thing. You know, in all those dispatch discussions, it was talked about population and different ways to build this. This is by far the worst way to do it, right?
Right.
I would venture to guess if you go off population, it's going to be close to this amount. And I haven't figured those numbers out. But when you're looking at, it's easier to itemize population than it is for these calls for service, right? I mean, every 5 years we have a pretty good idea what the population is. So as a governing body that provides me with the finances to run the sheriff's office, that gives us time and foresight into planning what we need to budget for whatever that might be, right? I mean, there's a few things we can't do that with. I mean, it's hard to forecast fuel costs. It's hard to forecast certain things. But population, something like that, you can forecast that fairly easy. This does not.
right.
There's no way to know.
Well, I think, I agree with you 100%.
And it creates a whole bunch of other issues.
Are we able to put them, at this point we've given them notice, and I guess I look to you at that. We've given them notice. We can't set up our system. At this point, are we able to say we can get dispatch covered and we go over there on an afternoon where everybody's informed and we put them out?
Well,
Are we able to do that as a county? I guess I would ask. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. Sorry. It's okay. This percentage of calls you're covering for these new Newcastle Police Department, they're charging us $2 a call. So what's our fuel cost for that call? What's our time?
Yeah, and we didn't figure all that out. So, but there is cost there.
Well, that's my problem I'm having with it is there's no justification in any of this of our time spent covering those calls.
Absolutely.
Is that something that you guys, that Denise keeps track of at all? It's not.
I mean, we keep track of of what it costs us. I mean, it's kind of a moot point, but for legislative purposes, we're allowed $50 to serve the paper. We have to do 3 attempts. So we track that because when the legislator entertains letting us raise that price, we track that a little bit. But no, on a general basis, we know I can tell you, I mean, we can figure out fairly simple what it costs us in fuel and maintenance and all that stuff. And then figure the percentage of that with the percentage of calls that we respond for ourselves. So we can figure it out.
I guess where I'm going with it is, I don't want to go down that road because we're at this tit for tat thing, and the fact is we got that. We get 0 rent for the building. There's no payments being made for anything over there. So we'd have our attorney send them a letter that says this is what you're going to pay now for until you're still in this building and for our help with coverage of your calls, because it appears that in some levels the police department over there is kind of having some real difficulties lately. So
Absolutely.
I would like to see potentially we either return a statement back saying, well, we need to recover some of these costs until you're out of the building and we could move forward, or I don't know.
I have a question since I'm new. Do we have? I understand the last agreement is considered expired. Have we signed a new agreement, a new contract with them?
No.
Because if not, this is spiraling out of control. We don't even have an agreement except for the old agreement. So how do we know what we're going to pay them? We haven't agreed to pay them any amount. They haven't agreed to charge us any amount, and until there's signatures on some kind of agreement, they can't just, as a business, they can't just say we're going to charge you X amount of money because we decide to. You can't do that to anybody. They couldn't do that to a person in the public. They couldn't raise their water bill just because they decided they wanted to for some reason.
Right.
You have to have an agreement in place, and maybe would it do we go back and on our end, is the Joint Powers Board, is that something that should be put in place first and then go forward? Where do you start to have that cornerstone? We have to have a cornerstone to somehow do an agreement with them.
Yeah.
You're right, just to help out understanding on that aspect of the agreement. Because we realized there was no agreement, we actually went back to the city and said, can we just work with the status quo, how we've been doing it over the course of the years until we could move forward with everything? And part of that was we were still working towards that joint dispatch board. And when all of that kind of fell apart, per se, that's when this kind of started, because at some juncture we got to move forward. And Brian's right in a lot of ways. I think he took the high road, and it was never conveyed that you aren't still welcome to come along. It was just, we need some room to start working forward and make some progress. But,
yeah, and I need about 400 square foot of space that they occupy to continue moving forward. And I'm to the point now to change that location to where we can move forward without that. To answer your question, just throwing them out on the street, so to speak, legally, no. You can't do that without going through that process. It'd be no different than evicting somebody from a rental. So it would have to go down that process, and yes, that would be where you go from there.
Are we able to cover dispatch if, this gets to a certain point where we're not set up yet?
Mm-hmm.
So do we absolutely have to have them in place, or we talked about that? The safety of the citizens is the most important thing, so I would never jeopardize any of that until this is resolved.
Well, I'm going to throw another wrench in there for you. Okay. So in the process of, we meet every other week with our project manager over the phone to go through this project. During the last meeting, we found out that they will not be able to move their dispatch seamlessly. In other words, the equipment that's in that building needs to be in this building to work. Well, when you disconnect it from this building, you're down. And then when you get over here and it doesn't work, you're down. So because of that, I'm currently in work with trying to figure out a backup plan that is ready to roll at a moment's notice. But it became fairly clear to us that they had no concern for that. You know, they didn't think that part through, that moving. Ideally, the way we designed ours is they could continue to keep theirs where it's at. We could get ours up and running. And then even if they stay with, they're doing their own thing, we could at least cover for them, or the citizens, not necessarily them, but the citizens, while they make that move. I'm not a tech guy, but every time you unplug that phone and you move it over somewhere else and you plug it in, for some reason it ain't working. I foresee that being a potential. Not only that, but you're going to lose 911 services in the county when they go to move that system over to the other building for a period of time. So there's a whole other issue there on top of that goes along with what you're saying.
And I had brought that up before.
But is that where we could potentially visit with Cook County for?
Yeah, I'm working on that because of what I found out there. It's typically when and I'll use Cook County as an example. When he completely revamped that dispatch, they actually set up dispatch in a separate room, got it up and working, rebuilt everything, tested it, went over to the new dispatch and used it before they put the switch on the other one. Well, they had no intention to do that because you'd have to duplicate quite a bit of equipment.
Is there some legitimate reasoning? I think it's been like August, or they say in August the system was supposed to be up and working, or as far as radios or something. I'm just trying to figure out in limbo along with beers. We're operating in a pretty risky spot. I mean, there's no contract out there. We're starting to see the aftermath of a non-contracted, I guess, verbal agreement, whatever you want to call it. Is there a potential for entering back into a contract at this point?
To do that, you guys would have to do that with the city council down there because that's where this is coming from. And I don't know that the city council is fully aware of all of this stuff, to be honest with you. I hear rumors they're not. This was done outside of those meetings, so unless they did it made that decision in the executive session, I can't find it.
Don't mind. I know you're on the hot seat here because this is new to you. So we're being asked to pay this bill. I assume maybe you're familiar with the situation in the past where somebody's been out of contract and there is no contract. Have you ever been in a situation like this?
Kind of sounds like somebody who's held over on their lease an apartment on a 1-year contract, and then their lease expires, but they haven't moved out. The landlord just keeps taking rent. It's kind of like a month-to-month agreement. So that's about the closest analogy I can think of, just from what I've heard here.
So if we pay, in your vast experience with this, if we just pay the $4,500 and not the $11,000, do you think there's some legal teeth somewhere that's going to come back and say, even though there's no agreement there, that they just manufactured this number? I mean, do you think there's some legal teeth that say, until we've had a chance to figure out in our budget how this could work out? I don't know. We're both doing this with each other.
I'd have to look into it a little bit more.
Well, do you have a plan to work forward with now?
We do.
Okay.
Even though they're this part of this is out of my realm, obviously. And the other problem is our utilities aren't paid because of this dispatch.
That was going to be my next question: is where we paid our utilities and they refused the payment? Where do we stand there? Deputy Attorney.
Sorry, I'm trying to get Michael. I'm trying to text him. He's in trial, but
Yeah, we've, last month we paid our utilities to them with what we had been paying for our normal agreement we had. Well, they refused our utility payments plus our normal payment that we had been making, the $4,500 a month for dispatch. Right now, we probably got our 6 buildings are going to be delinquent accounts. Where do we go with that?
can you cut him a check for the utilities, or they
So-
won't accept it, or
Well,
They had to resubmit it, but when they called, they said that they would now make all of those late. They could potentially shut the water off to all of those buildings, and then they would charge us a $45
reconnect fee or something.
reconnect fee. But I explained that those payments weren't late; they had just refused them. And it's the fairgrounds, the annex building, road and bridge, public health, law enforcement center, and then this building. Library.
every separate.
When they were actually on time, they just refused it because it was connected with his payment.
So they say why they did that. I just don't understand.
It's in this because he didn't pay the 11,000,
Okay.
and it's in this letter here. You want me to make you a copy?
Yeah.
And I'm not certainly not an attorney, but the simplest way it seemed to fix that problem is separate the payments and identify them. Send the water payments separately. It might be a little more of a pain in the butt, but they can't deny the water payment if the water bill is correct. So
You go down the road now, I see we should, our utility payments to them and our dispatch payment should probably be on separate checks.
Yeah, because that's my understanding, if I'm not correct. All of that, you guys do the vouchers.
Yeah, it was all
and
on
then
one-
cut
that's all on
the
one
check.
check.
solve that problem. And
That would take care of that, but it doesn't take care of the delinquent payments and late payments.
But I wouldn't think that we would have to pay, if we submitted it in a timely and they rejected it, would we still have to pay the late payments?
I don't know what your agreement is
Well,
with them. I don't know.
there's no contract agreement with dispatch. It's been expired for what, 2
Right.
years now? A
Well,
little longer.
the way the
talking about
contract
utility.
it was just kind of open ended. That when the contract expired, it would continue to work on until one party gave the 60-day notice. They want one party to get out of it.
And I have a letter from Jeannie that's not included in that where she gave a notice before the city gave the notice. If you want me to get that letter.
So technically, we hadn't been without a contract. It was just an extended
This one,
contract until somebody wanted out of it.
No,
From
it's,
you.
let me grab it.
Yeah, I was talking more about the utilities. I don't know what your utilities agreement is.
There is just a normal.
Right.
Utility.
So we do a motion to get back to the approval to do a kind of a prepaid deal on that. Not necessarily, it's not really a prepaid, but a separation of entities and cut 2 different checks to them and resubmit the dispatch along with that. I know they're gonna refuse the dispatch, but I don't think they can refuse the utility.
We have to do separate vouchers for that. Or is it all?
I don't think it'd be a major deal. But my thought is I still don't understand how
Sure.
a judge is gonna look at this and go, you're providing that service that you're receiving it.
Because on the water bill, every one of them had a separate voucher. Because them coming out of separate buildings from the department heads.
So we just need separate checks.
Well, we could do all the utilities on one check. I guess.
And then Brian's. Okay.
Then we can do the dispatch on a separate check. That way, we keep our utilities paid.
And we don't have all of that. Some of them have brought it back because they had to go back to each entity because each department head has to write their account and then each department head has to sign off on it. It's,
And I know that's it's not a lot of money, but I would also suggest maybe that we pay the entire utility bill for that building down there so we don't get rejected back.
That'd be the water, sewer, and gas, and then also utilities, right?
Just the water, sewer, and gas.
So not heat and lights
That's
or
what we're
whatever.
paying now.
Yeah,
The city.
Yeah, water, sewer, garbage.
garbage, garbage, nothing.
And I was gonna ask, sorry, Brian, what is the E911 expenses? I'm confused.
But
on
like
that.
Dan said, we are too. I mean, they don't itemize this. They don't tell you what it is. And that E911 money that you get for you guys, that you guys pass on to them should cover that.
Good, we didn't withhold that, are
No, they get E911 money every month from the county, and then they're turning around and
So that's what
charging
makes
us E911
it 0
expenses.
cents.
It's a big portion that they got, over $6,000.
And that's there's no,
So I think, how much did they get in November?
I looked.
6,000.
Over 6,000. So we don't know if that cost them 6,000 plus that. I don't know. They don't tell you that.
Yeah.
In August, they got over 13,000
Is there a way?
911?
in E911 money.
It's just for that. Each person that has a landline and a cell phone is charged $75 per month, or 75 cents, and then that check is cut to the treasurer, and then the treasurer then cuts a check each month.
So they're not itemizing it, but explaining it that way. This evidently is an overage assumption. I mean, that's the only way you can
You
look
have
at
to
it.
make an assumption there.
You have to assume.
You
But there's
can't do
nothing-
that. I mean, I have to have those itemized
There's
bills.
nothing itemized for that 950.
So I know what we're paying for.
it doesn't show where that payment has come into this either.
It doesn't show anything.
I kind of want to echo what Commissioner Todd said. Is there? I know it might take a little bit. Is there a way to figure out what kind of cost was involved in the time that you were helping them out?
Yeah, and then what I said is I could go and do a percentage of those calls and do a percentage of the cost. Match the 2 percentages and tell you that.
And maybe put something together so we have an idea of if we get into that where there's okay, so what's that cost? And we don't know yet, but if you can, I'm sure you have a pretty decent idea, but
Yeah,
you can put something together that's fair. And
30% of my expenses for that.
okay.
So do we need a motion to have Becky resubmit those checks in that form?
It would just have to be, you guys just need to approve it prepaid, because we don't have all of them yet, because each
Yeah.
department still is working on getting them to us. I think we have most of them.
So separate the utilities from the actual dispatch bill.
Well, Brian will just have to bring his, and just his utility one, but
Utilities plus, I don't mind Brian's recommendation either, paying this in full, the $330.
I just think that
Yeah,
it's not a lot of money, and
It's
I
our
think it
building.
just keeps them from shutting the water off or something.
and my second thought on that was maybe, I know we didn't have it on the agenda for today, but maybe we need to start that discussion at our next meeting if Brian, it sucks to put this on Brian's shoulders, but, or you guys even to try to figure this out. It's, but maybe that, and we establish cost of monthly rent at the facility, and we're trying to get something solved.
Okay.
I have a foreclosure I gotta go do.
Okay. Anything else real quick, Brian?
Thank you.
And I'll leave these guys here for a moment.
Okay.
If you
We
guys have
appreciate all
questions.
your efforts.
They're probably smarter than I am anyway. So
Thanks, Brian.
All right, thanks.
well,
So-
probably more anyway.
I guess we need a motion to do a prepay on the last month's water, sewage, and garbage bill that they refused. That way we can get that paid as soon as we get all the vouchers in.
So maybe
And it,
And I'll second.
okay,
thank you.
friendly amendment real quick, I guess, to pay in full on the cities, or the city and,
the full bill.
for the dispatch center,
For the water.
yeah, water, sewer, or garbage.
Is that good? Second?
Second. I'm good. with second.
We have a motion properly seconded to do a prepay on last month's water, sewer, and garbage bills that were returned from the city. And in that, we include the full bill for the dispatch center. Okay. Is there any discussion on that?
What do you think about do we reach, I know it's banging our head against the wall, but do we resubmit a check for 4,500?
And it's for 2 months, so it would be.
9,000. Do we do that or?
Let's take care of the first motion.
Okay.
Is there any other discussion on that first motion? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay. Motion carried. Now, for the, what we've been paying for the dispatch agreement.
Anybody have any thoughts?
I think they pretty much answered the question whether they're gonna take that bill or not. I think it's come to a point, my opinion, is just that we're gonna be fighting over this one.
Well, on this letter that Jeannie sent, it states that you guys are gonna continue at the $4,500 until a new agreement, a new contract is.
I understand.
agreement.
But they sent it back. They got that agreement too. They sent the payment back. I think we should hold that money somehow. In the anticipation we may have to pay.
Should just remember the budget.
Yeah.
The only other option is to accept it and we go into debt. Whatever this amount then turns into in their eyes.
I don't know, to whatever you think, but I just think they pretty much answered the bell. I don't know what they're doing there.
I don't know if they're doing good to cut them out a $9,000 check for the 2 months right now at this point anyway. I think it'd be a waste of a check and ink.
Yeah, well, to me, if they're not gonna accept it, let's not give them any money and then see how they, I mean, it gives them an opportunity to negotiate a little bit.
I would almost rather see we send something good faith, I guess. I would suppose we send the $9,000. We agree. And if they throw it in the trash or whatever, I mean, we're making an attempt at least.
But I agree with Nathan. In that letter, we clearly state that that's what we're going to pay them per month, whether they refuse it at this point. That's what we agreed to pay them.
And then maybe if they, one more time, if they don't, then write another letter saying, okay, we're gonna do so.
So is that a motion?
Yeah. I make a motion to cut the City of Newcastle check in the amount of $9,000 for November and December of 2022 for dispatch services, as there is no current agreement in place.
Second.
I second.
That motion properly seconded to pay the city the $9,000 for the November and December dispatching. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Okay. That handled? All right, we are running a little bit behind.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thanks,
guys very
guys.
much.
It's gonna be very long.
This is the
No,
timeline that I just put together of when letters were sent out, when stuff.
You don't have to decide.
Hey, Gilbert, You're up quick.
All right, so
Call work system.
the call work system that
This
currently that the current dispatch has, the E911 stuff is, I'm just gonna be blunt, is not very good, and I'm sure that they're gonna take it with them when and if they ever move over. If we try to keep it, it was paid for by Homeland Security. The sheriff don't want it, I don't want it, and if we try to keep it, it's gonna delay things. So I don't think we need to do that. And anyways, it's not upgradable to next gen. Eventually, we're gonna have to go to next gen. So the sheriff and I, we need to purchase a new one. And you have in front of you what we're asking for. So we need to purchase a new call work system, a new 911 system, which records 911 calls. It traces the 911 system and so forth. So.
We don't need a decision on this today, do we?
You don't need a decision, but we need. Well, I would like one today because the sooner we order this, the better. Because the supply chains are so poor right now. I'm receiving radio batteries a year after I order them right now for 10 months. So go ahead, Don.
So this is separate from the equipment we already purchased.
Correct.
So what are we looking at numbers on the back page here?
I don't have a copy of it in front of me.
265, 35.
So whatever base is the 197, and then if you want maintenance, of course it goes up there. And I'm sure you can add the maintenance later if you want to go in and talk to them.
The cheaper one, the 181. The list price, but their offers lower. We're on the right.
Yeah, 181, 265, 35, or plan one with 1 year prepaid software, on-site support, hardware warranty is 198, so 200,000. Or 5 year prepaid software, on-site support. That's a little spendy there. So I would ask for the 198, 912.
Where's this land, Gilbert, on all the equipment needed?
Dan, I think there's still every time we're in a Motorola meeting every other Wednesday, I think there were still CWCG.
It's some acronym. It's another. It's where all the radio channels go into, and it's basically a radio hub or a switch network type thing for channels. They found that we have more channels than they originally thought that we have, so we could get a second one. I'm sure. I think.
Well, I can understand this. That'll take like the fire district and control their radio will roll into the same. And
we
basically like a phone line rolling over, but it's just with radios.
Yeah, we have more channels than what they initially. They thought we only had like 4 radios, so we have 11 channels that go into the system, and they only take 8, so we have to purchase a second one. Yeah, that was unforeseen.
Yeah, we actually have 13 channels, I think, and this will give us room for 16, I think.
I haven't heard any updates from Nathan, but will that grant that we applied for help us? Will the count towards, can we apply to this?
That grant, I just had an email over the weekend. 119 total requests were submitted, several being multi-agency, $19 million for $4.5 million. The final approval to proceed with awards and purchases was recently received by YDOT, and we'll be working to send status notifications to agencies shortly. So it should be coming out real short.
But what I'm saying is, could that cover this, or is that? I know we specifically.
If we're awarded for what we asked for, then that other money could be used for that.
Okay.
I guess
I'd be
a little unsettled about making a decision on this today without looking into it. I'd rather
absolutely. No, I understand, but
put it on our next agenda.
Okay, absolutely.
Whole business.
Real quick, I guess that initial stuff we did. This is on top.
That's on top.
Okay.
This is extra. This is another system. This is another $200,000 we're gonna need for our dispatch center.
And this,
Yeah, and
this will upgrade with the next.
This will upgrade our next gen system, you know, so we can move forward when everything upgrades. This will help us move forward in the future.
What's the life expectancy on that?
This,
10 years, like we were talking about the other system?
oh, we're not even to it. I don't know if we're even advanced 911 yet here. So I mean, this will be next gen.
Got it.
So,
Gilbert, in a slight chance that maybe dispatch would stay unified, can this equipment still be used?
this one, absolutely. Eventually, this would have to be bought by somebody because this system that they have now is not upgradable to next gen.
And I heard you say that neither one of you guys wanted the system that they've got right now, the E911.
Yeah, it's
not upgradable.
It's not upgradable, and it's not a very good system.
So regardless of the dispatch, this would be appropriate.
And I don't know. I mean, the Joint Powers Board. I tried twice bringing people together and trying to work together, and both attempts have been futile. Behaviors have just not allowed that to happen. So I don't know what's going to happen right now. We can just split apart.
Okay. I just like to digest it.
Yeah. Absolutely, I understand that.
Visible, yeah.
Thanks.
Right. Any other questions for Gilbert? Thanks, guys.
Good.
Thanks, Ben.
Yeah.
And next,
Now you're up to Narcan.
Narcan. I got public health going to come help me here.
20-year-old.
Because they know Narcan better than I do. And, oh, the baby.
There's the baby.
Baby.
Oh, that's sweet. The newest public health person. Very early, I guess.
Okay, you're back online, Gilbert.
Okay, so thanks to Krista, who has done a lot of work, and Kristen and Sarah, Narcan is available in Weston County. It's free to our agencies. The Sheriff's Department will be getting Narcan for their officers.
That is basically the antidote for fentanyl.
Any narcotic opioid. And the beauty about it is, even if somebody is not, it won't hurt them. If you think they're overdosing, you give it to them, it's not going to hurt. Am I correct there? Okay. So I was asked that if we thought maybe Narcan would be good in the courthouse. And I think maybe that would be good. You never know. We've had drunk people come through into the clerk's office, the assessor's office, and everything. You never know. Somebody might go into court thinking, I'm going to go to jail, I'm going to have one last high. So with the proper training, and these guys know what kind of training they're going to need, and I'm going to have them maybe explain that to you guys, what needs to happen for that to take place. But I think you guys are going to need to approve it to have maybe some Narcan in the courthouse.
I'm the one that called Kristen and visited with her a little bit about it. And we talked about the courthouse. It seems like a pretty quiet place, but there's so much of the public that comes through here. You just never know. And because it's available, I felt like it would be important to have one here. Maybe one person in each office or something could get trained on usage and have it available. You, especially with court upstairs, you never know what's going to happen on those days.
There's also a chance of accidental exposure. Someone could come in, drop something, someone could just pick it up, throw it in the garbage, and be contaminated. Can I give you guys some
Yes, please.
Okay. So this is just kind of a letter, or I'll just, what do you want me to pass it down, give it back to one, just kind of outlining the program. This is through the Wyoming Department of Health, and we're facilitating it in conjunction with them. This is also, I think it's important for you guys to see, like Dover said, Narcan can't hurt anyone. Even say if someone was overdosing on meth and or not overdosing at all, they were having a seizure or something that you thought they were, it's not gonna hurt anyone. So, the state of Wyoming actually has statutes, that are in place that, make it so there's no liability if someone administers it in good faith. That's one of the reasons that I think, we can't go wrong really with it. I know the sheriff's department has already developed a policy for it, which is part of the procedure through the state. One of the requirements to participate in the program, they have to have a program administrator in place, and they also have to have a policy in place. This is just pass out. This is a sample policy that would be recommended, and it's very similar to the one that the sheriff's department has developed. And then the training that's offered is online. So Kristen, and I don't know if she wants to speak to this, she will be the one signing the standing orders. And this program is for any entity, organization, even business can apply for this program. They just have to meet the requirements. So you guys won't be filling these out, but just to give them to you guys, just so you can see. This is the order form that the county will be submitting, and you can see it says right on the top, bill to the Wyoming Department of Health. And so I think it would be best to just do it with the county as a whole instead of doing maybe each office, the order for each office separately. But then that would be submitted along with Kristen's standing order. And so that's basically what it would involve. There is the online training that's recommended by the state. It takes about 15 to 20 minutes probably, but maybe a little more depending on the person. And we feel like it would be that we would trust whoever the county decides to be the administrator of the program, that they would be the one who keeps track of the training and certificates, and keep them on file. And then obviously, when the order comes in, then it would be given out to the people who have completed the training. So,
how is it administered, Krista?
It's administered nasally. So it's basically just a couple squirts up someone's nose, and then even if they don't respond after that, then another dose can even be administered. So it's basically the way that the Wyoming law has it set up now. Even like any person could walk in to say the pharmacy and ask the pharmacist, say, I have a loved one that I'm concerned about or whatever. I'd like to have Narcan, and the pharmacist can write you a prescription and give it to you personally. That's where things are kind of headed. So I know I've spoken with I sent out an email about this program I think last week, and I got feedback from Andrea Gregory, and she said, as a probation and parole person, she's been carrying it on her personally for a couple of years already now. So,
Gilbert, I guess this is for you.
Mm-hmm.
Would you have a recommendation as to a designation for individuals? Like, would you do a couple people in the courthouse, or would you want 6 people or 10?
I would probably do one in each office at least, and then I would probably ask for the policy wise. I'd probably ask somebody like Kristen or Sarah or Krista to actually write the policy for the county.
So you think would behoove us, I guess, do we keep one out at the fairgrounds? Do we keep one, what do you think?
I have had somebody suggest the library because they have some people that come in out there too. Probably would be a good idea.
Really pretty inexpensive.
It is. It's fairgrounds. I don't know where we put it, and availability. There's not always somebody there.
Probably have to be the person running it.
Yeah, but definitely at the library, and of course the sheriff's department's going to have it. So
The NF would be bad for this too.
absolutely.
Because you got local people coming out of that.
Well, and the training is free, it's short, there's no liability. So I mean, really, I just my opinion, I would say anyone who volunteers or feels comfortable being trained could have that opportunity. And if there's someone who just says, look, I'm not comfortable, then say, okay, if you don't have to be trained.
I think it's a win-win for the county.
If someone falls over and has a seizure, is there zero liability if you say, I think they're overdosing, and you squirt a couple squirts up their nose, that person can't? Okay.
The only danger mainly with Narcan is from the person waking up too fast, and it's really limited when you use the nasal. That's mostly when they give it IV and they come out of there high a little too fast.
Mm-hmm.
That can be a little dangerous.
Is it only for like overdose situations, or like if someone comes in and you know they're in the courtroom and you know that they're high, is that able to be administered and that kind of reverses? Or how does that, how does that work?
You could, but it probably would cause them to be agitated and not very fun to deal with.
Well, I mean, in jail too. I mean, if they came in, they're arrested, they're high. I mean,
Yeah, if you're worried about their breathing, I think I honestly didn't look through the statute too close, but I think part of it was that you do have to call emergency personnel if you use it, and then you submit a report to the state that you used it and call them.
What's the board's pleasure? I think it's a good thing to move forward with.
I think it is. Means that they're suggesting, it's a good idea, rather than it being reserved just to a treatment that maybe 911 emergency or something like that would administer only. Have the recommendation to have it, and maybe to take care of the situation a little sooner.
If I recollect, didn't Gilbert volunteer to track who's trained for it in the training?
I heard too.
I have been volatile.
So
I'll take that responsibility.
do it.
You want to do this?
I will seek out who wants to be trained and do that.
And by no means want to force anybody.
No, absolutely. And I would just ask that one of these ladies take care of the policy side of that, write the policy for the county, and make sure we're solid on that aspect of it first.
I'll make a motion. I'll attempt a motion. Do Gilbert Nelson, Department of Homeland Security, as our name and title of our authorized representative to move forward with the Wyoming Department of Health Services with a nasal spray program to Narcan and administer that how he sees fit within the county means.
I second.
We have a motion. It's very long, it's not lengthy, to allow Homeland Security individual Gilbert Nelson move forward with the Narcan program.
Okay, now I second.
As our authorized representative.
At the authorized representative. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor please say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Motion carries.
Thank you guys.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you. Yes, thanks for coming in.
You go over.
Am I done?
I think you're done for the day now.
Okay.
Thanks, Gilbert.
So we're gonna call her because we ran over and she called in and we were.
We're on 5 minutes. Chief on 5 minutes.
Garrett, would you please hand me the phone line up there, please?
This one is unplugged.
Yes.
Anyone else? I just look it up.
Just need to knock the- I'll move it so it's not right across your.
We were pretty.
You want me to put it behind you?
No,
You want me to put it behind you?
no, we want it here.
Okay. Good morning, Drew. You're on speaker.
Good morning, Becky. Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Good morning.
Are you ready to give us an update?
I am. Is that Chairman Wagner?
Yes, it is.
Good morning. So I actually have a few questions for you, and I don't know. I have 15 minutes. So I don't know how much of an in-depth update I can give you. But I'm happy to get on your agenda sometime in the future to give a more in-depth update regarding all the issues. So we are currently working on 3 issues with you and possibly a 4th. So I just wanted to go through those this morning. Commissioner Ertman and Commissioner Barton are no longer there. We have new commissioners. And so I'm hoping to get from you this morning who my points of contact are going to be to assist me in all of these efforts. So I'm going to start with the Black Hills National Forest Land Use Plan revision. That is moving forward. So just a quick review, we are in the 2012 planning phase, which means we did the first round of comments on the draft assessments last year. The draft assessments were not good. We're asking for a second round of draft assessments. We're getting some pushback on that from the Forest Service. But we're working through it. We're hoping that maybe we're going to get a second round to review those this next year. We are still working on the MOU. So we did just have a meeting with Jeff Tomac, the Forest Supervisor, and Lou Conroy, his planner. We've been working with Joe Barron and Cook County, the county attorney. We sent some corrections back to them. As soon as they accept those for Cook County, we're going to copy that for Weston County, and we'll get it to you to review and sign. So be watching for that probably in February. It keeps getting delayed a little bit. I apologize. But I've got the Black Hills Forest Plan revision. We've got the BLM Resource Management Plan revision. We have not started NEPA with that project yet. That will start maybe second quarter. The Black Hills has not started NEPA yet. That's going to start maybe later this year. And then we've also got the Thunder Basin National Grasslands, which we are in the implementation phase. But we still are meeting frequently with the working group. So I will need a commissioner to assist me with that. So let me stop there with those 3. Do we have anybody who would volunteer to work with me on those 3 projects?
Drew, you know, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Nate.
You know, I know Tony kind of helped out a lot with that stuff in the past. Do you find it easier for it's one point of contact for you or multiple?
Thank you, Commissioner Trotter. I think for me, it's great if I have one And I can update all the commissioners at meetings as we need to do that, but having one point of contact for each of these topics, or for all of them, I don't know if there's someone who wants to specialize in natural resource issues, but it really helps me if I have a go-to commissioner that I can email or call if I've got questions regarding the position for Weston County.
Volunteer unless somebody really
It's a real riveting job to do. You better like to set up late at night and read.
Now, Commissioner Wagner, don't discourage them before they do this.
Oh, I'm not discouraging. I'm just telling them how fun it is.
I do try to make it as easy as possible. I do most of the work for you, but it's really better for me if I have a commissioner who's elected official that I can pass things through with to make sure that we're doing the right thing for Weston.
Either one of you volunteered. You guys with the ranch were, kind of involved with the ag side of it more.
Yeah.
I don't have a preference who does it. So.
Did you volunteer first?
We're having an arm wrestling match. I think Nate won. He is volunteered first, so he is your contact person.
Okay, and who is that? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear the name.
Commissioner Todd. Yeah. I guess. Drew, Commissioner Todd.
Awesome. For all three of those subjects?
You bet.
Thank you. This is going to be great.
I think it's done.
Yeah. No, Drew, it'll be interesting. I mean, I'm actively involved in ranching, and I am familiar with a fair amount of it, so I'm encouraged to take part.
I appreciate that. I will make it as easy as possible on you, and I did help do your Natural Resource County plan, so we'll be as consistent with that, but I appreciate it because there will be meetings in between that I'll just need to get your approval on things or just make sure if there's any questions that were consistent with where Weston County would want to be. So thank you for volunteering to help me.
You bet.
So I do have one more, and I think Chairman Wagner, you had a conversation with Micah.
Yes.
So, regarding safe routes, so the BLM has now issued the notice of intent to do an EIS yet again for safe routes for all the time limits in Wyoming. What WCCA has done is because this EIS is going to affect, probably 18 to 20 counties out of the state, we're going to do a statewide effort. So WCCA applied for NERPA funding with the governor's office. We were just approved, and they are hiring 2 consultants to assist with the safe routes effort. So it will be my company, Drew Consulting, and also Deacon Dessa Dale, and her firm is housed out of Bozeman, Montana, but they do a lot of stuff for the Bighorn Basin counties and others. So they're very familiar with Wyoming. What we've decided is that because most of my clients, including Weston County, are housed on the eastern side of the state, we're going to split the state in half, and I will be working with you guys on safe routes anyway. WCCA had not heard back from Weston County on whether or not they wanted to participate. So the funding request was an 80-20 split, and currently we have 14 counties participating, which puts your share over a year and a half. So we're hoping that the EIS will be done June 30th of 2024, so a year and a half. So it would put your share with 14 counties at, I believe, $1,500 to $1,600. If Weston comes in, that'll be 15 counties. If we get Sheridan, it'll be 16 counties, and you'll be reduced accordingly. So it'll be somewhere around $1,500, which will be your county share to participate in the statewide effort. So Micah wanted me to get with you guys to see if you wanted to participate. My recommendation is that you do, but this one is going to cost you a little bit of money out of hand.
Well, the conversation I had with Michael last week is that we should be in on it. I think, all the board's approval, but that will get us being a cooperating agency, so we will have a voice at the table if it comes to it. So, I mean, my recommendation to the board would be to jump on board with this. I mean, it's a very small fee, but we all know how the sage grouse can shut our county down at one point in time. So.
So I will just need your approval, and then I'll need someone to help me on sage grouse. Yes, Commissioner Todd is willing to continue with natural resource issues.
He nodded his head yes. He's gladly.
So.
Okay. So I might take the message back to Micah that yes, Weston County is on board.
I would feel comfortable if we had a motion to that effect.
So moved. There you go.
I'll second it.
We have a motion properly seconded to engage Drew Consulting on the, what would you say that is, the EIS for the sage grouse?
CLM, Greater Sage Grouse, Plan Amendment, EIS.
Did you get that, Becky? Okay, we've got that. Okay, thank you. We have a motion properly seconded to engage Drew Consulting. Is there any other discussion? I guess that the record to show it will not be over $1,600, will it?
I don't think at this point that it will.
Okay.
Because we've got multiple counties participating. The only difference will be, Commissioner, is if it goes longer than June of 24, or if we're required to do more than we think we are right now, there may be a few $100s that we'll have to supplement.
Okay. We will figure that out down the road. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say nay. You have to go ahead, Drew.
Thank you. Commissioner Todd, are you on the Public Lands Committee for WCTA?
No.
You want to be?
Bad. Right up front.
Man. Okay. They cover all these issues, so I think it would be great, and they'll do a lot of stuff virtually, and then just meetings when we have the WCTA meetings throughout the year.
Well, it seems fitting if that's I may help you with this other stuff. So thanks, Drew.
Wonderful. One last question, Chairman. Is anybody going to Cheyenne this week?
4 of us are, for sure.
Oh, fabulous. There's one other issue that I need to talk to you about that I can talk to you down there. It's kind of informal and not ready to be on the docket yet. So I'll talk to you when we get down to Cheyenne this week. I'm on my way now. So
Okay.
I'll be there.
Sounds good.
All right. Thank you, everybody. I look forward to meeting the new commissioners, and we'll see you in Cheyenne.
Thanks, Drew. See you later.
Thanks, Becky.
Bye.
Oh, that's nice.
Hey, you let it over there.
Looking for it.
Okay. Next up, we have old business. First on the list is the newspaper advertisement. Was somebody going to come over or not? Okay.
I'm actually online, Ed.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
All right.
My apologies. Kim is at an appointment.
We see Bob.
You to pinch hit for her. Do you see me?
Yep.
You hear me? Okay.
Okay.
Okay, good. No, and it's probably better to, honestly, it's one of those times when technology, since we're going to be talking about technology, when it's probably better that I present this online anyways, because everybody can see it. You guys are able to share. So basically, after your last meeting, when you discussed legal newspapers, discussed a potential desire to get the county government business in front of more people, to open the door to more people to that information and access the county government. The conversation went on, and there was an indication that the conversation could go on beyond declaring a legal newspaper. So Kim asked me if, I did listen to the conversation, and I heard $20,000 was a figure thrown out to put the minutes in the newsletter journal. And I talked to Kim and Alexis about it. What we could actually do, I guess, as far as, because I did hear loud and clear that $20,000 is too much, and I understand that. But what we could do, and part of embracing sort of the investment you've already made in your own website and putting these meetings online, and like I said, your own investments in tech and technology is to double down on that through the newspaper's investments in that by running ads on Nuke Now and on the website. And basically just having you guys occupy a space on the website, on our own page, our news pages, one of the sidebar ads, create a series of 10 or 12 ads for you that we'd rotate in there monthly, saying, come see county minutes here. And you click on it and it takes you right to the county website. Everything we did on any of those ads would drive traffic to the county website. See the agenda for this week's meeting. Come view the county commission meetings live. Whatever. I'd let you guys decide what sort of messaging you want out there. But a year of that with ads on both of those properties would cost $5,000. At our standard rate, it would cost a little over $10,000. It would cost $10,400 to be on both of those. But I do get volume discounts on that for running consistently because it's a benefit to the public to know they can go somewhere, to know they can click on something and be taken in. Right now, you don't really have anything out there or nothing significant out there that invites people to come to the website that you guys are already spending the money on. And there's talk in the legislature about shifting more and more of these things to the website. The legislature is actually a fantastic example of using tech to involve the public more. And what I'm offering is for $5,000, the newsletter journal and our reach. And like I said, I can, with your permission, I'll share a screen and show you exactly where. If Gilbert would let me share screens, I'd show you. I can show you where the ads are. Show you the statistics on our website as far as usage. We're well over 1 million on average, well over 1 million hits a month with it. That number is actually going to go up because right now we outsource our photos to a different website and we're bringing them all back. We lost about 500,000 hits a month when we did that a couple of years ago, so I anticipate getting at least that much back. So your website would be out there for the public. You would be inviting people in. I did hear Kim and Alexis say, it's the way you tell your story, put your information out there, and invite the public to participate. And for $5,000 for a year, I think I've got a couple of pretty effective tools to do that. So, any questions?
Gilbert, are you online there?
Let me go. Brittany, I think, is doing it.
Okay.
And I can hold if you guys want to. If you guys need something to jump ahead, I'm just sort of getting final looks at stories this morning, so I'm back on. I'm done digging and back on the computer.
We're going to try to get you to share.
Since Christmas, so I'm happy for the break.
We're going to try to be able to get you to share your screen here shortly.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, I can hang on until that happens. That's what I mean. If you guys would like to move on, or if you have any other questions, I can sure answer.
Bob, Commissioner Todd.
Yes, sir.
What you have to share, is it kind of also a synopsis of what that $5,000 provides, or is it more just kind of a view of what you can provide?
I guess it'd be a view. I can give you a synopsis. I can show you, if you're interested, I can show you some of the performance of past ads on our sites as far as number of impressions. I guess it would depend on what you're asking. We could certainly average some things out. And right now what I offer is 50,000 impressions a month for the website for anybody who knows that is familiar with that language. So that would be 600,000 impressions a year. your ads, and an impression happens whenever an ad loads on a page that someone is viewing. So it'd be like, that's 600,000 eyeballs, that's eyeballs to it. So 1,200,000 eyes. Nuke now, subscribers now up to 800. That's weekly on Mondays. Your ad would, appear there in the scroll, like Pinnacle Banks does right now.
Hey, Bob.
They use it also for the survey. Yeah.
I think, try to share your screen now. I think we allowed you to.
Thank you, Gilbert.
That's Brittany.
Thank you, Brittany. All right, so your ad space, you guys can see it. This one right here is school districts. The Travel Commission, Pinnacle Bank occupy these spots already. So I would split you actually. Right now I do have some rotations in this top spot. Not enough to make sure the school district gets theirs and you do too, or I don't know, as we grow the website we might. But your ad would alternate between that spot and this spot here on the website. On Nuke Now, again, Pinnacle Bank's invested in that top spot. We could slide your ad, which would be, about this size here. You see this Adobe support ad. It would be about that size, and we could put it anywhere in the scroll. If you want to put it by the state news, the poll question is, if you really want eyeballs, this poll question that we ask every week, that certainly gets a lot of traction from people. And then the other thing I was this Commissioner Todd may be more specifically what you were asking for. There's our website statistics for the newsletter journal. I don't like that part, but over the summertime we had a lot going on there. I was doing the Best of Weston County contest. I guess you guys are curious about marketing and stuff like that. You see what doing stuff like that and engaging the public does as far as your traffic goes. But right now, even last month, we were still at 1.2 million hits. And I anticipate when the photos come back later this month, we're going to be up in this range consistently. The prices I charge right now are for this stuff, just to let you know. So if we get back to that, as I predict, you're going to be locked in for a year at this price. So, any questions on that?
How much did we save by going with the Gazette? The dollars.
Oh,
or was it saying
500 a month, stuff like that, just for the legal?
Yeah, 500 a month.
Twice. You're gonna do times 2.
500 a month
I would have
times
to figure
2.
it out. I don't know.
Well, if that was just the legals or just the minutes, right? It was
That was
800 to 300.
500 a month. If you did that way, it'd be 5,000 plus 2 months, saving $6,000 savings.
The question I see, sorry.
Go ahead, Nate.
I mean, what this is a sales pitch, and nothing against Bob, because I think it's valuable to get information out there. By state statute, we've met the state statute by choosing a publication by going with, and rightfully so, as a board that's trying to watch funds, you should choose the lowest bid. So what we're deciding now is, this is do we want to spend $5,000 a month in additional funding to basically advertise through their website services?
Yeah.
A year, yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah.
If I understand this right, Bob, this is basically what it'll do is if we do this, there will be a link on your website that will redirect them to our website. Is that correct?
Yeah, all of your ads will redirect to your website, to whatever page on your website you want them to go to.
So
that's what I mean. Around election time, you maybe have ballot pages you want. Not that you're going to have that this year, but you might want to give a little bit of it to Susie at tax notice time. That would be strictly up to you guys. You'd be locking this spot up for for the year to do with whatever you like, and we direct it to wherever you want us to. But yeah, it would be on your website properties.
I can totally relate to what your Commissioner Todd's saying in regards to the lowest bid and getting what we're required to do, but I don't know what kind of value you can put on getting more information out to constituents, and even if it's pushing them to a website, which they have not really, there's no real direction to get to that website, except, yeah, it's on the website. I am all for getting more information out to the constituents, and you have to put a price tag on that too. Are you getting the lowest bid? Sure, but are you getting everything that you want out of that bid? I don't know about that.
I guess that, I think it's wonderful to get it out there, but the fact remains that we have a completely free service that provides all of our meeting minutes, and so is it cheaper to go put an advertisement in the Newsletter Journal every week that's something like this? Please go to our website. Or, I mean, it's hard to quantify how many people in the county are actually hitting that website as opposed to nationwide. And I don't really have a major horse in the race. It's just a matter of what do we want to spend and where do we spend it, and I think that's where we have to come down to the deal on.
Anybody else have any questions?
Well, I think it's something definitely to look at on our side. If we were to do this, then I think we need to take a really good look at our website and update it, keep it updated, put more information on there about budgeting, and maybe there's some county websites that have the budget on their website for everybody to see. There's different things talking about. Maybe we could put our timeline on there about what's going on in dispatch, so people can look at that and see exactly what's going on. It would put responsibility back on us to take better care of our website, so when people look at it, there's more information for them. It's something to think about.
I think it's a step in a transparency, and it is directing it to ours. I'm not for sure how many hits we get on our personal website as far as that goes. Obviously, the 1.2 million isn't just county related. That's newspaper in general. So I don't even know if we can afford it. That's the thing. But
Yeah, I guess I thought here is, would it be better to spend the $5,000 with the Newsletter Journal going this way, or would it be better to spend that money on our own website and get it out there better? Make it on that end of it, what would give us the best bang for our buck?
Hey, Bob, how urgent are you on this? I understand you want would like an answer probably today.
No, it's there's no. No, you can answer that whenever. I don't know how long that price can stay there.
That's what
or I'm sorry, Commissioner Todd, I really apologize, and I God bless your dad. Yeah, so no, it's there. There's no ticking clock on it or nothing. It's what I can offer you right now. And so yeah, if you ever want to take me up on it, as long as the inventory's there on my website, as long as demand and numbers allow me to keep the price there, and it's going to be there for a month at least. So yeah, you guys can discuss this, and I guess to Mr. Chairman, your point about if you do want to invest in bringing, and I put a lot of time into additional marketing and that sort of thing down here. If you do want to invest in getting your website out there in front of the public more and drawing the public to it more, you're going to have to spend money somewhere with a programmatic ad campaign, maybe a YouTube campaign, something like that. I can assure you that that looking at about $100 a week, less than $100 a week, with the numbers we're getting and stuff. That's bargain. That's going to be pretty cheap to deliver that kind of response. The other question someone brought up, whether it be worth more to put the ad in print in the newsletter journal. Boy, that's a tough call. I do think that kind of an ad in the newsletter journal would be valuable at $100 a week. The size of the ad would be big enough to get some attention. But at the same time, since what I pitched to you is a way to get more people to participate with what you've already created online, I think that this package, this online package, would be better for the county and for the people of the county as far as is training them to go to that website, which is, I think, the objective you really want to accomplish. So I suggest in this instance, the $5,000 would be better spent digitally than in print with us. I wouldn't say that often, but this time I do, because it is a really good price. And then, yes, you at some point will have to make that investment to get that out in front of people. It's just the way it works in the old interwebs. So, but thank you guys for the opportunity to present it to you. If any of you have any questions, feel free to email you. I can email you some other stuff, some, like I said, some other statistics from ads on the website. I'll tell you what I know if you have questions.
Just to follow that up, Bob, I appreciate this. It actually opens up something to us I'd like to see it put on old business in 2 weeks, for the fact that it gives us maybe an opportunity to see where we're failing with our own services we're providing, and in honesty, I think we probably spent more than that in certain services that we were advertising in the newspaper. And if we can cut back on some of those and it just gets redirected potentially to our website, to where that advertising is there for some things, it may be a good bang for our buck.
And actually your total spending with the newsletter journal for advertising last year was $4,500, so it's less than this.
Mm-hmm.
And more than half of that was in the tax sale notice. So you really, those sort of things that office closures, board openings and everything else, you would be taking a step backward if you moved all of that online and took out what the very small bit you're already doing in print. And honestly, it would be I made this offer on the assumption of trying to help, and so taking something out of one pocket of the newsletter journal and putting it in the other really isn't good faith, I guess. So I'm sorry, I struggle with that. I discounted this rate significantly in an effort to help the county. So that would be disappointing. I guess I made the offer. I'll live with it. If that's what you want to do, put this online and pull your ads out of the newsletter journal. Then.
No, that's not what I'm recommending, Bob. I'm looking at it as an option to potentially cut back on some of that, not all of it. I think the tax rule is extremely important, and some of it is important, but I'm not recommending transitioning completely. I'm just saying it gives us an opportunity to look at what our web services could provide us and what we can afford to maybe do.
Table this or readdress it in 2 weeks. Or actually 3 weeks for the next meeting. Okay. We will hash it out in our next meeting and give some time to think about this, Bob.
All right, I appreciate it, Mr. Chairman. Thank you all.
Thanks, Bob.
Thanks, Bob.
Have a good day.
Yep, you too. Next on the old business is the update on the Barton Road, the viewers report.
Yeah, did you guys all?
Everybody see that online?
Okay.
And that's just information thing.
Mm-hmm.
This is the reason I'm here today. This road that was built across the national grassland without permission off of the Barton Road.
Yes, it's addressing some of that.
I believe the Forest Service law enforcement people are still working on this issue. I don't know where you guys are. Their representative at our board meeting December 7th said that, nobody would write out the people that did it or who it benefited, and that was contradicted, and so they were going to go back and talk to some people and see, but you know, it just kind of bothers me that you know that this road, this controversial, hadn't been approved yet, and somebody may be getting some fines and stuff from the Forest Service. I was just trying to see where everything stood on that.
We actually had the Forest Service here about a month and a half ago.
Yeah.
And this was kind of their recommendation, and then they were also going to pursue that on their end, and this was kind of their recommendation on moving forward. So I think that there's still potentially something out there that the Forest Service is going to say, yeah, you're going to have to come in and clean up whatever and take care of whatever, and this isn't how we do business. But we're just following their guidance right now.
Kind of seek forgiveness instead of permission.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Anyways, we can get in big trouble for a lot less than this. And while we're talking national grasslands, I had the Association of National Grasslands conference call last night. I love those things, but I couldn't talk them out of it. It looks like the A&G annual meeting is probably going to be in Newcastle again this year. Mid-August, like Monday and Tuesday after the Sturgis Rally thing gets over with. So they bringing a little bit of business into town.
Yeah. Thanks for the update and watching out for that area out then. So. Okay. Anything else under the old business we need to discuss?
One thing we forgot was we were going to ask Nick this week after his meeting about nighttime meetings up there.
Oh, I have an update for you on that. It won't even matter what he says. State statute, they have to stay in Newcastle. I talked to Michael on that. You can't have them up there. They can have them at night, but yeah, they have to be in the county seat. Because I was visiting with the other clerks on night meetings and stuff like that.
When we had been up to, we were violating state statute.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. I didn't realize that. Statute. So, yeah. I didn't realize that.
You got the statute for that, Becky?
I'd have to go look it up again.
Yeah. Provide that to us.
Yeah, I can email it to you this afternoon.
That's kind of neat.
Yeah.
Seems crazy.
I was looking up.
Okay.
But on our end, the town council is in full support of it.
Okay. Well, we will, if we can, we will pursue it. If we can, I guess we got throttled on that one. All right.
Well, maybe going up there, but the night meeting is not throttled.
Yeah. No.
Because everybody right around here does night meetings.
All right. Next, on the new business. Cell phone etiquette. Something we need to, I had put on there. Something we just need to, as a board, just kind of be conscious of what we do. We're not, texting them all during the meeting and stuff. If we need to, we take a break. If there's an emergency, somebody needs to get a hold of us, they can call the courthouse and come give us, in the meeting. Just be conscientious when you're on your cell phones. And,
we can see where you're looking appropriate.
Yeah. Then, anybody have anything else to add on that? On the cell phone etiquette? We'll move on then. Employers Council membership.
Okay, I handed this out to all of you guys. This was a group that we belonged to a long time ago. This is who the county had for their HR. There has been things that has been brought up that will be discussed later today, but I asked them if they would give me an updated membership price, and then this is what they offer. You guys can look at it. This is a lot cheaper than going by with an employee. It's $7,700 a year. And this is everything that is included in that. Just last week, I was asked for the number for this company because it was needed. We don't have them yet, so this person could not use them like they could in the past. So I just wanted you guys to look into this to see if it was something that you guys wanted to pursue again.
What are our total number of employees right now?
Yeah, it's less than 75 employees. So
Got
that's the column that we would fall
A question on that. Would the volunteer boards, could they?
under. Don't think that
They could.
no, they're not county employees.
Okay. It has to be actually ours,
Yes.
somebody under county employment, okay?
Do you remember when we got rid of that option?
Because there was one commissioner that didn't feel that we needed to pay them if we weren't actually using them on a monthly basis. But they're actually county and
So outside of the LGSP, I mean, this is a, which I think is pretty great rate personally. I mean, it gives if there is an employee that has an issue, it's an opportunity there besides that.
so LPLP covers the county.
County, it's not the employee.
This is employee and employer.
Mhm. So in the 10 hours of consulting, that's only, is that?
Well, no, the enterprise is unlimited.
Yeah, the consulting one, no, that's only 10 hours per year.
Yes. Well, if you call and say this month and you hit your 10 hours, they're not.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think if we move forward, I think the enterprise would be the one we'd want to move forward with, you know. I guess one positive thing on this is you're dealing with attorneys that they deal with employment issues on a daily basis.
Well, and our
familiar.
attorney can call them
Yep.
and get advice as well. You guys can call them. Employees can call them. It's unlimited. They become our HR, just like they did before. And they were used before. They just weren't used on a day or on a monthly basis. And so the commissioner didn't feel that it was worth us paying them.
I guess it would be really up to us if we use them the way we should. We'd probably use them a lot more than we did before. They clearly have a lot of things to offer if we take advantage of it.
Well, and they'll come up and give training, free training, if you go with the 7700. And the gal that I was in contact with before when we were using them is the same gal. She's still there.
Were they good to work with, Becky?
Chairman Wagner,
Yes, go ahead.
this is Jeannie Stone. Let me see if I can get my video to go here. There we are. There I am. I just clicked on for a little bit, and I just wanted to advise the board that we did check into this service just last week. We do have a personnel issue that we've been attempting to resolve, and I'll give you guys some more information when we go into executive session. But as Clerk Hadlock mentioned, it would be a service of attorneys and individuals who have some specific experience with HR issues. And in talking with Mr. Stolken, we believe that this service would be a great benefit to the county as well as the county attorney's office. And I know that it only takes one issue perhaps on this level that could really need these services. And so the county attorney's office recommendation is that the county support this and offer the retainer that's needed to get this group involved and of assistance to us.
We don't have this in our budget for this year, but we could, if there,
There's funds that we could.
there's funds we can pull it out of.
Take it out of county admin.
Yeah. What's the board's pleasure?
I would basically, I think this is a much better avenue to go down than hiring an extra employee for this service because, like, the concern that was expressed before, if you go 6 months or 8 months without any use, it's seems like a pretty good bang for the buck. I can certainly see where it would behoove us to have some protection for our employees. Financial.
Is this something that needs to be decided right now?
Sooner the better.
I guess my question is would they be able to step in and help with the current issue we have going?
Yes, I think that would be the hope.
Okay.
If we were to consider this, I would like to see us utilize it to the max. I mean, if it's an unlimited supply, we're going to more or less substitute an employed office or an opportunity for employment. Use our imagination and try to utilize that to the max.
You know, with that, I think when we've utilized this before, we had them on board before. I don't think it was utilized near as much as it should have been. You know, I don't think a lot of our department heads or employees knew that they had access to it.
I don't think yours up to be $641 a month.
And make them aware of that, you know, the avenue that we've got for everyone.
Right.
So we can utilize it. It would be to our advantage. Probably.
Okay.
Where is it? What is it? The 20 calendar
account?
It's 200099.
Make a motion to reach out to Employers Council for their enterprise offer at $7,700 a year, and those funds come out of general miscellaneous financial admin at 100.00.20.99.000.0000. General miscellaneous financial admin.
Okay.
We're at 251. We got a budget of 291.
Yes,
Oh, I second it.
Having the motion properly seconded to move forward with Employees Council on their enterprise subscription at $7,700 a year to come out of financial admin line item. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Zero. Question, comment? No. Oh, okay. Okay, next up is the price.
Hello.
You have the floor.
I have the floor. Okay. Does everybody knows who I am?
Oh,
Steve
yeah.
Price. Well, before I had been. But came here today wearing that you guys have not been able to hire yet a full-time employee for as far as a maintenance position here. If anybody, if you folks, the board is interested,
I'm willing, and I know I didn't leave on good terms last time, I'm willing to come back on a, however you'd want to call it, part-time, or, I mean, that would be the easiest way to explain it here, and help out for a couple of months. I still think the world of this building, and it bothers me to drive by here today and see what's not being able to be done because of the lack of manpower, if that's what you'd like to call it. So, I'm open for questions, or if whatever, if that's something that would interest you, it can't be for a long term, like, 6 months or whatever, because I have been approached in April of a different job, a part-time, just a fiddly. I haven't decided to do that or not, but this is a tough time of the year for this building as far as inside and outside. That's
I was up in the Garrett actually, and I were up in the vault upstairs a couple weeks ago, and I'm looking at the ventilation system and the filter that's on it. And you can tell I was actually going to try to do it today if nobody was around, but to replace the filter because it's not getting done. I was in the basement of the library the other day trying to find out where their filter system, where the filter even went in that thing, and I can't. Because it's such a monstrosity of a machine, I don't even know where you begin. And just looking at it in the air compressor system down there, and how all that system runs, it's baffling to me. And I think that Steve has some valuable knowledge, and I understand the way that he left last time wasn't the best of terms, and I think that part of that could have been on the board too. I would like to have Steve back in the hopes that we can find somebody that is takes invested interest as much as he has, and he can have an opportunity to train that individual on all the ins and outs of what's needs done and what he does. And my only concern, I guess, is inviting Steve back. To me, would be how do we invite Steve back without putting too much on his plate, which I think is what happened a lot of last time. They caused a kind of a Steve maybe build up and get upset, and without us having an understanding of it or a good feeling of it before it kind of came to a head. I guess that's my piece on it.
Can we talk you into more than a couple months?
no, because you're going to have somebody hired again. And I wouldn't, if you find somebody that would do it, say tomorrow, I wouldn't leave them out in the cold. I wouldn't just, that's how I did it, but it's been years. And thank goodness I had a lot of help from the HVAC people and, but I can, and I tried to help out as much as I could, but I just, like I say, I haven't decided. I was approached right after I left here last time about a job that's something that I really enjoy. It's kind of like mowing the yard out there. So that's the deal. I had said 2 months.
I echo Commissioner Todd's sentiments, except I will say that on that end part there, that you and I met the day after that happened with Commissioner Earthly.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that, and correct me if I'm wrong, from what I got from you, wasn't that your plate was full, but was the lack of communication that you were receiving, and you were frustrated on some of those events. And I would just encourage you to come to the board and let us know before that happens, and a misunderstanding on both parts, perhaps. I don't know, but I don't think your plate, you weren't frustrated then, at least, that your plate was full. It was the lack of communication.
That's one thing I'd need to visit with you folks too. When I come last time, it was a part-time, 30 hours a week. And it's hard to have a job here 30 hours a week because I was told that I had to work 30 hours a week by an individual, not by you. And you cannot schedule yourself to work 30 hours a week and still, after you leave, after say 6 hours a day, and something happens, and you can't say, hey, I can't come up there because I cannot work. And you only donate so much time to a job, even the job you enjoy. I mean, and that was a big deal too. And there was a lack of communication. And another thing we would have to, if you guys are interested, we need to visit about a few things that would be cut out the plate, like your contract, what you're doing with certain things now. I mean, because that cuts into so much of the other stuff. 30 hours a week, though.
I agree. As a matter of fact, I visited a little bit with one of the facilities in Upton that has maintenance people, and it's not one maintenance guy. I mean, it's irresponsible, I think, to expect one person to, you might be up at 3 in the morning handling things, but at 5 in the afternoon or 4 in the afternoon, something might come up. So I think that's a direction that this board needs to look at. It may be not 2 full-time maintenance people, but a maintenance person that can have the authority to delegate this, and this to whoever within reason needs hired to handle certain things. And I think that's something that we need to visit about, and probably with you, if the board can see that we move forward and try to find a working relationship. Because believe me, when you're here, things are going good, and you're missed. When I saw the filter, I'm like, good. So
Yeah, and I had when I was full time, I was a comp time, I was an overtime. But as the years went by, I had a really good feeling of if I went home and had something going on, I was able to call, say, a AC or or a plumber or electrician, and but that's something, like I say, that where a person.
How would you suggest you handle that type of situation? He's at 30 hours.
I think that's something we need to talk about as a board, because we may need to figure out a funding measure for something like that. I want to visit more in depth with the gentleman in Upton on how they handle it. I mean, it's you're going to have a situation. There could be a week where it's just wonderful.
Oh yeah, and that happens here.
Yeah, so
I mean,
I think it's something we need to brainstorm on as a group. And I mean, I don't want to take a point on this. I see the value in Steve. I really do, and I see the value in him helping somebody flourish into a future employee and try to grow the position into a position that's manageable for a long-term job, and not somebody that gets burned out because they take so much ownership in the job that it affects their future here at the county, I guess.
I can see when we get a full-time employee hired, the training that Steve can allow, even if we have to bring him back in on a consulting basis just to train somebody, that would be invaluable. Just to have that, be able to do that too, if he's so willing.
Well, we were even a majority time without. We had some difficulties meeting up at times, but if I didn't have an issue most of the time with answering, you had my personal cell phone, but that's something that needs to.
That's something we need to set guidelines down and discuss.
But I'm sure for them have pizza. I don't think I'm not onto the I got onto the 30 hours a week deal as far as, some, like you say, some weeks, yeah, there's plenty to do here at 30 hours a week, but there's also,
There's an opportunity to spitball something for Steve to actually come to us, to not necessarily even be an employee of ours, but a subcontract or a contractor for us to provide such services at whatever rate you set. If that's of interest to you, I mean, it negates you from some of the county benefits, of course, because you are then a subcontractor then. But it would also free us from some obligations that would,
it would be, I was fine with the 30 hours a week. There was times that I felt that there could have been more done, that needed done, that I couldn't do it. But for this, what I'm talking about now, I think, yeah, if I have to work 30 hours a week, I'm fine with it. But if I only have to work 20 hours 1 week, I didn't like the idea of saying, you gotta have 30 hours in before, the week is up. That's what you were hired. And like I say, and most weeks I put in 30 hours, maybe 28, 26, but, so I mean, that's something to think about. I had no problems. Is working, if I have to work 30, I would work 30. But also, if I have something going, I need to go. And like to say, the part-time, that's the way I would like to do it, just like I did it last time. And hopefully we could, or you guys as a board, maybe something will come along here real soon. And,
I would wording it part-time and not to exceed 30 hours a week. That way, if you've got 20 hours available for the week or 10 hours, that's all you give us.
That's the way it could be. I mean, but it's so hard in the wintertime to do that and have a snowstorm, but like I say, that's something that could be discussed.
Where did we determine the 30 hours a week? Is that because he's not in overtime until 40 hours a week?
Well, I think under 30 hours you're not eligible for benefits under 30 hours.
So that was the bad.
I think that was
You're over
right.
30, you become a full-time employee.
Well, what I'm saying though is this: why is it an issue that, for example, on a day where you have something extra or something comes up that you have to work 32 hours, and then the next week you're at 26 hours? Is that an issue?
It's something to be in the handbook to see if over 8 hours is considered.
it seems to me that, sorry.
Those were questions, they weren't.
Yeah, I could be completely wrong on this, but it seemed to me that once you enter that threshold, you may fall into full-time employment. Now, I don't know for how long, because it seems crazy to me in my mind that would be the case. It would be for a month or a year.
Right. And I thought it was based on averages. You had to work an average of 30 hours with employees, but that's why I was just asking.
It's something that you need to. I thought it was 30 hours.
The caveat with doing it contractually, though, Steve, is you could set your price at 30 hours a week, and if we're happy paying you that price and you only work 20, but you're doing a bang-up job, it's then you have that leeway to move around. If it's 32 hours here, it's 28 hours here, and if that contract price is 30 at $22 an hour or whatever it was that we were, and you come up with that number per week, and this is what I'm willing to provide you for services, then it's kind of easy to figure on everybody's end. And then you have the authority on your end to say, sorry, man, I'm contractual, I don't have to be here.
Well, like I say, if you decide, if you're interested, I mean, we could talk about, take an hour or two a day, someday, and sit down and discuss, which way is best, and I mean, and go from there.
In the handbook, it says under the employee classifications, full-time employees are those employed who work 30 to 40 hours per week and who maintain continuous regular employment status. Full-time employees receive all benefits offered by Weston County. Part-time employees are those employed to work less than 30 hours per week or on a time card and are paid by the hour. Is that how it was?
I was paid by the hour.
Part-time employees are not afforded any benefits other than wages. For example, they do not accrue benefits such as sick days, vacation, health benefits. That's what the handbook has. So.
On, like a contractor versus a part-time. Contractor wouldn't become contractor workers' comp if something would happen to him. And that's a big, slip on the ice, something like that happens. So, yep. And then you'd have to prove, you'd have to have some insurance.
And I'm not, my son did some contracting. That's a lot of paperwork and we can discuss that. That's one thing I'm not
even interested.
I'm really just, like they say, happy with the way it was before. I mean.
So then if we set you at 29 hours a week and said, Steve, I don't care, just don't work over 20 hours a week, you'd be okay with that?
Yes. And if I have the authority to, say Becky calls me, man, our furnace is messed up. She can call me and I have the authority to call Powder River or whoever. I mean, it's the coming back, which I, don't want to do, spend 2 or 3 hours. But I still think I have enough remembrance of who does this. And
I have your sheet.
Yeah, I mean, and like they say, right. That's right. I think it would. I mean, everything might not get done like it used to, but I think there would be enough. Check the elevator, check the heating system.
Oh my gosh, it sounds terrible.
The basic thing, the stuff that
the
needs
things that need checked.
Yeah. So we actually worded as part-time employment not to exceed 30 hours a week on your discretion, whether you work 10 hours a week or 30 hours.
When can you fill out your employment paper?
Yeah, can you start?
I got a big old list for you.
Well, like I say, I just, as a whole for this building, I mean, how many years has it been since we didn't have Christmas decorations up here? Because some people that means a lot, but I totally understand the reason why, I mean, but things like that.
Yeah. Just the little things that you care about.
A lot of people do.
Well, I mean, yeah, but I mean, it's you care about it. I would say everybody cares about it. It's kind of slipping.
So we need a motion hire Steve Price on a temporary basis, not to exceed 30 hours. Is it 30 hours once they hit 30 hours?
Yeah, you don't want
so if he works 29.75 hours, he's fine.
And that's just, I think, just under your handbook. I
Yeah.
don't think that's not like
Are you okay with
labor
that,
law.
Steve? Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah.
Not.
I just.
You tell us.
I mean, yeah, I'm happy.
Yeah, benefits would have to be
Yeah,
you're not interested.
No, I mean, I do have a question, and I don't know if it can be answered here, but I guess I probably need to know wages before I agree to work.
Minimum wage.
There you go. That's about what they're offering me this summer.
We'd like to have you
Where
back,
you were at
Coach.
before.
We'd like to have you
We'd
back.
like to have you back.
What? Yes, I do.
You okay with that?
I was 23 an hour. I mean, I guess I don't want to sound bad. I'm happy with 23 an hour, but I guess too. I mean, people look at it as a board. They're paying pretty good. I mean, and I'm not saying good, but some of these convenience stores and Subway, and $20 an hour. I mean, there is, and I'm not being greedy at all. I'm not, but there is a lot of responsibility here that.
The knowledge you can bring back.
I mean, I'm not asking for $30 an hour or nothing, but
That's 25.
I do it.
Yeah.
I like saying I don't want to sound bad because I
already
do
had the motion.
I do enjoy it.
Well, Steve, I think even some of the wages aren't quite as high here as other places in the world. It's the benefit package is incredible here. So
Exactly, and where I'm
if
not
you're
taking
any
I'm
of
not
that,
taking your money for benefits.
Yeah.
You know, so you're saving.
Yeah.
And I totally agree. This benefits and this job is a good job. I have one last comment, and maybe if nobody feels it important, but back 8, 9 years ago, or 7, 8, whenever I got hired, the ad was in the paper, just like the job description in both papers, with the wage, you know, bottom and top was in there. And I think that would give some people, I feel some people, you know, if they see the wages and with the full, I don't know if the ad says full benefit package. I can't remember. I looked at it the other day on the internet. And if it was in the paper, I can't even, my wife had to find it on the, I'm not a computer person, you know, real good. Maybe twice or 3 times run it in both papers with the wage scale on there, and it might open somebody, a really good employee, say, man, I could work up there for those kind of benefits and those kind of wages and be home every night, and it just might open up some eyes. I mean, it's whatever you guys think.
We discussed that, adding the wage, but there's such a wide range of what you were paid and what Al was paid, and you don't want to start too high because they're not going to make what you were making.
So let's do up to.
Because when I started at the bottom of the deal because honestly I didn't know anything. You know, but with a little training.
Well, depending on experience, that is such a broad term. You know, you can't put a value on that until you get people involved to know what their experience actually is.
And you put in there, we will train.
So the interest in maybe moving forward, if we offer you this and you accept, could we put it on old business or new business, I guess, that you might attend a meeting with us and we set that rate and under your help and guidance. And then I would be willing to make a motion. But you happy with that thing?
I'm happy. I just really want to see somebody here full time. And I help you as much as I can to get somebody that you guys that can work with all these departments and enjoy what they do.
Well, I'd make a motion to offer Steve Price a temporary position with the county as a maintenance person at a wage of $25 an hour, not to exceed 29.99 hours a week.
I second.
We have a motion properly seconded to offer Steve part-time employment at $25 an hour, not to exceed 30 hours a week. Let's open it up for a little discussion. Do you want to put a end date? So, I mean, that's just up to you.
I mean, if you guys are all right with it, which is what I was offered, is not assured to you. I'm just putting this out here, and hopefully you'll have somebody by then. But even if I would do this, it's really a small part-time. But I don't want to do other things this summer. So, I mean, as the time gets closer, I will keep you all, and we won't have another episode.
Do in the back of our mind, do we want to plan on 90 days? You're done. 60 days. I mean, just for in the back of our mind that we need to keep track of.
That's fine.
I mean, you tell us.
90.
So that's something we as a board need to rethink in 90 days.
There's a chance
Steve's not going to be here.
Possibility. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I mean, that kind of puts us under the thumb too that this is not an ongoing thing that we need to be aware of.
Yes, because I do not, absolutely, I'm not don't want to work, I guess, full time when it gets really nice out.
Is there any other discussion?
You know you're really missed here, and we all miss you. Everybody that works here misses you because you dedicated yourself to the job. We won't find anybody like you, but I appreciate that you'll be willing to help train somebody to maybe be at least knowledgeable in the basic things when they come. But I would ask you, because you're the type of person who loves your job so much, don't be afraid to come to us when something gets to be too much or you feel like we're asking too much of you in the responsibilities. It's easy. I've seen the board. It's just easy for the board to just ask you to do things because you are so knowledgeable and you are so responsible. Make sure that we don't put too much on you.
I do ask that if I do have an issue, and I think it's a serious issue, I would really appreciate that you as a board or three of you or whatever will take time and say, I said, you guys somebody needs to come see this. This needs, I think I've had an issue over the years with that. And I would like somebody to say, yeah, we'll make time to, and I'm not going to hound you every month, but.
How about we just add you to the department heads, and if you got something, you bring it every other week, and if not, then you're not obligated.
Okay.
Because I think it's important you don't just visit with one board member.
I totally, everybody needs to see what you got going, so somebody, and there are issues, but that's an issue later.
Go give your paperwork to Amber.
All right. Any other discussion?
Let's keep it on payroll.
All those in favor of offering Steve temporary or part-time employment, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion carried.
Welcome back.
Fourth time.
Yep, okay, you're welcome.
Before we go into executive session, just for courtesy, we'll open up for public comments, so they don't have to stick around until afterwards. Is there a public comment? Okay. Like to keep them constructive and good.
They're always constructive. You know that. My name is Stanley Jasinski, taxpayer landowner. I want to address, it actually coincides with one of your agenda items today. I want to address the opiate war being waged on our country by the Chinese Communist Party in conjunction with the Mexican cartels and the Department of Homeland Security, which opened their borders wide open to allow fentanyl to pour across it. The Chinese Communist Party makes the chemicals, they send it to the Mexican cartels who cook up the fentanyl, and it flows across our open border, wide open border, which is compliments of the Department of Homeland Security, my office. I'm here to keep a promise. I'd like you to meet my grandniece. Not a very good picture. It's taken from a newspaper. 2 years ago, she went over to help her mother, which was my niece, because she wasn't feeling well. It was on Memorial Day weekend. At the end of the day, she kissed her mom goodnight and said, "Mom, if you need anything, I'll be in the next room. Give me a call. That's what I'm here for." She went into that room and she took a hot shot of fentanyl. See, my niece was an addict. She's not here to talk because she's dead. This is her obituary. And I'm not taking responsibility away from my niece for taking that shot because she was an addict. Because a lot of people don't understand, but I spent the second half of my life, 34 years, working with alcoholism and addiction. Literally half my life. I'll be 68 in April. Next to her, so in the morning, my niece walked in and found her daughter dead. She thought she was taking heroin, but it was heroin laced with fentanyl, made by the Chinese Communist Party, cooked up by the Mexican cartel, and allowed to flow across our border by the Department of Homeland Security. Next to her was a Narcan pen, just so you know, or Narcan. See, when you're injecting this fatal drug, seconds. She carried her own Narcan pen because she was a struggling addict who had almost overdosed a couple times. Yesterday's Fox News and breaking news. Kids under 14 are dying of fentanyl poison faster than any other group. Fentanyl deaths among children ages 5 to 14 nearly quadrupled between 2019 and 2021. They're not using it, but like it was talked about, they may pick up something that's laced with it. And of course, the Mexican cartels and the Chinese Communist Party are making it into gummy bears and all these little things we see in the paper. So they're inadvertently taking something they may think is candy, and they're dying. And if you think that's unique to other parts of the world, in my working with alcoholics and addicts in this county, I can say that I know a man whose sibling, child, had the same occurrence. They went on vacation. His child went out and found another hot shot, and this man found his child dead right here in Weston County, and I know this person. You can't take money from the Department of Homeland Security and then divorce yourself from this. You can't. Send the money back you took. Mark it unacceptable because it's used to poison our children. It's used to open our border. Governor Mayorkas is going to be impeached for crimes against this country. And I'm here to speak for the children, people that are dying here, 100,000 last year, 300 a month, because nobody else cares. You can buy all the narcotic pins you want, unless you stop the flow from coming across our border, you're not going to do anything. So when you lay your head on the pillow tonight, think of my niece, grandniece, and the 100,000 that are killed by Mayorkas and the Department of Homeland Security by allowing this stuff to flow across our border. Thank you.
Thanks, Sam.
Send the money back.
Okay. Any other public comment? Chair would entertain a motion to go into executive session 16-4-405.a. I.
Second.
Yes, second.
You can make the motion.
So moved.
All right.
Second.
Get motion properly second to go into executive session, possible litigation. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those say nay. Motion carried.